Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be doing a brand new original tag created by Aaron Read a Book, or Aaron Read a Book. And this is called the Booktuber name tag. Aaron took the names of 9 Booktube channels that he really loves, and he turned those names into prompts. I'm going to just read a statement from Aaron, and then we'll get started with the prompts. So his statement is, these are all great channels that you should all subscribe to immediately if you haven't already. There are probably several hundred other channel names that would work as prompts, but these are the ones that I thought of. Okay, so here are the prompts. Number 1, books I'm not reading. A book that has been on your TBR forever. So I decided just to keep this on the radar here, to pick a book that I just talked about in my Big Books of Summer video, and that is Stephen King's The Stand. I've owned this book for a long time, and it's been on my radar and on my TBR, and lots of people are encouraging me to read it, so I think this is going to be the summer. But this has been on my TBR for a long, long time. Okay, number 2, novel iDeea, a book with an interesting premise or plot device. So for that, I picked Daniel Mason's North Woods. Now this book has a very interesting premise. The main character in this book is actually a house. It's a house that has existed for about 400 years. And what the novel does is it looks at all of the characters that have lived in the house over this 400-year time period. Not only is that kind of an interesting premise, but the way the novel is written is also quite creative and quite unique. It's not a straightforward narrative. Not only are we looking at all these different characters over a 400-year period, but they tell their stories in a variety of ways. So the book is made up of letters, songs, poetry, straightforward narrative, medical records, magazine articles, just a variety of different writing forms in order to tell the story of the house. Number 3, Revenant Reads, a book where someone has returned from the dead. Well, just this weekend, I read a novel from the original Star Trek series, and this is for my participation in Book Trek 2024, and that is Vonda N. McIntyre's novel, The Entropy Effect. Now, this is a very early novel in the original Star Trek series, but in this book, early on, Captain Kirk dies. This is number 2, volume number 2 in the original series. So we know that Captain Kirk can't stay dead. And in fact, no spoilers here, he is brought back to life. Okay. Number 4, CriminOlly, a book where a crime takes place. Well, I have so many books where crimes take place, but right now on my mind, because my book group is discussing this today, is Zadie Smith's The Fraud. Okay, this is her 2023 novel where there's fraud takes place. The crime of fraud is in this novel. One of the main characters commits fraud in attempting to seize a sizable estate and title by pretending to be the long lost Sir Roger Tichborne. So there's the crime of fraud. Just a couple others that were readily available. We've got Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express. So we have the crime of murder. And also Albert Camus, The Stranger, and a murder takes place in here as well. So those were just readily available. Okay, number 5, Book Time with Elvis, a book about time travel, or someone named Elvis. Well, for that, I chose Matt Haig's The Midnight Library. What if you could see other possible lives and fix the things that you regret about your own life? Would these changes make you happier? That's the premise of Matt Haig's Midnight Library, where our main character has taken a deliberate overdose of drugs in an attempt to end her life. And she ends up in a place called the Midnight Library, where she explores books that illustrate all of the different ways her life could have turned out. So she travels through time and tries on different alternative lives in an effort to understand the life that she has actually lived. Okay, number 6 is Middle of the Book March. Your favorite book that you read in March. Well, for me, I picked Middlemarch. I did a reread of George Eliot's novel Middlemarch with the group Classics and Company, and the discussion was led by Kim, whose Booktube channel's name is Middle of the Book March. So I read Middlemarch with Middle of the Book March Kim this March. Okay. Number 6, Book Buds, a book with a great friendship. This is my go-to friendship book. This is actually a memoir by Gail Caldwell, and it's called Let's Take the Long Way Home. This is a beautiful book in which Gail Caldwell tells the story of her friendship with another writer, Caroline Knapp. These are two writers walking their two dogs together, and each day as they walk their dogs together, they talk and they say to each other, let's take the long way home, so that they can continue their their dialogue. The book opens with this statement about friendship. It's an old story. I had a friend and we shared everything. And then she died, and so we shared that too. Both women conquered alcoholism. Caldwell writes, apart, we had been frightened drunks and single women and dog lovers. Together, we became a small corporation. Finding Caroline was like placing a personal ad for an imaginary friend and then having her show up at your door funnier and better than you could have conceived. I discovered this book one May when my best friend and colleague in the English department, Linda, passed away. And Linda and I had at that point worked together for 25 years. And in our little English office, we had sat next to each other for 25 years. And she was about 18 years older than I, so she was a mentor and a big sister and and a mother substitute, and she became my best friend at work. And I was really lost when she passed away. And this book was this book helped me get through that very great loss. Number 7, obscure book adventures, a book that you love that never gets talked about. This is a book that I brought up in another tag, some time ago. Kind of I can't remember what the question was the last time I brought it up, but I do think it's a book. It's a great book. It's a great novel, and I don't ever hear anybody talking about it anymore. And that is John Irving's novel, A Prayer for Owen Meany. I've read most of John Irving's novels, and this is one of my 2 favorites of his. Owen Meany and the narrator, John Wheelwright, are best friends growing up together in a small New Hampshire town during the 1950s and into the 1960s and into the Vietnam War era. I adore this novel. For many years, it was a favorite of mine to teach in a couple of my senior English classes, and I'm definitely due for a reread. Anybody wants to read this book, let me know. I would really love to reread this. I'd love to be able to talk about it with anyone who's interested in talking about this book. If you've read it before, or if you've never read it and you want to find out why it's one of his greatest novels, I think that would be really fun. Number 8, Savage Reads, a book with a monster or a beast or humans acting monstrous or beastly, acting monstrously, I guess. So some literal monsters, pull out my horror omnibus again. We've got Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and Victor Frankenstein creates a monster in this famous novel. Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, one could say that Dracula is a monster or is a one-time human now behaving monstrously. And Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a human being acting in a monstrous fashion. And I also pulled out, I've been reading a lot of monsters lately, John Gardner's Grendel. This is a book I also used to teach. This is Gardner's 1971 novel. This is a retelling of the Anglo-Saxon epic Beowulf, but this is told from the perspective of Grendel, who is the monster or the beast and the primary antagonist in the epic. Really, really great novel. And then something that I just read for Horror Mayhem, T. Kingfisher's What Feasts at Night. And there's definitely a very mysterious monster type beast-like creature in this novel. And Kingfisher is my new find, and I've been reading her voraciously, sounding like a monster. I've been reading a lot of her since MJ at Reading This Life introduced her to me. Okay, the last question is a book that fits your own channel name or the name of a channel that you love. I couldn't think of a book that fits my channel name, Book Chat with Pat. I couldn't think of anything that quite fits that. that wouldn't be stretching it beyond what would even make sense. So I decided to pick, I picked two channels that I love. One is Angelia's channel, Read and Reread. And for that, I'm going to show J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. This is a book that we both love and that we both reread a great deal. It is a book that we work into a lot of videos. There are other books that remind me of Angelia that I could also talk about. Percival Everett's James is certainly one, but I think that I will always associate her with J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye and our mutual love for this novel. And then I also wanted to pick another channel, and that's Hannah's books. And for Hannah, I picked Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, because this is certainly one of her very favorite novels, and she also likes to bring Jane Eyre in whenever she can. So Hannah, this is for you. Okay. And then the final prompt is always to tag others. So this is a really fun, interesting new tag. So if you've if you're intrigued by this, I hope you will consider yourself tagged. But as always, I'm going to name a bunch of other booktubers so that we can spread this tag around. So here are, I'm going to tag some people that I mentioned in my tag, and then I'm going to tag some others as well. So Read and Reread, Hannah's books, Genre books, Beyond books, Bad is Rad 2, Reading Ideas, Book Blather, Bookish Texan, James at Quaint and Curious Volumes, Jess Book Girl TV, MJ at Reading This Life, Joshua at Joshua Crebo Reads, Mariandrea Belmont at Books and Bocadillos, Melinda at A Web of Stories, Roz at Scally-Dandling About the Books, Debs at Rayner Reads Stuff, Steve Donahue, Brindis, who has a new name now on her channel, it just changed today, Brindis, Daughter of Gunnar, Sue Jackson, Ven at Ven's Book Corner, Stuart Griffin, Ellen at Ellen Made Book Club, Nikki at My Messy Bookshelves, and Bookless Pete. So that's it for Tag Tuesday. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.